Hi, this is Edmund with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and I'm here to introduce you all to the game Kapow. Uh, it's a two-player dice building battler. Four players if you have two copies. It's published by Wise Wizard Games, and it plays in about 20 minutes. And I think that it's a pretty good kind of like a quick game to insert in there. But let's go ahead and get into how the game is played, and then I'll get you my kind of thoughts about it after that. This is Kapow. It is a superhero one-on-one fight, or 2v2 if you buy a second copy of the game, where you are rolling dice, activating powers to attack, defend, and power up throughout the fight. You win when the other team or other player is knocked unconscious. Each player starts with 20 health that you keep track of on these, I would say, pretty nice dials. And each player starts with one of each trait die, along with one action die that comes with a wild face on it. So a few of the different faces you have on the dice are pretty much blank. I believe that's like whatever the science, power up. You have the wilds. You have defense. You have whatever the green one is, swiftness. And there's Phyto, fists. And the yellow arms, which is kind of like the buff up. And I guess that is probably his quickness, because that's usually used in combination with defense. And the strength is often used in a lot of these different attacks and modifiers with the enhancement, the buff token. And wilds can be used for any. You can also, the action dice comes with 5 blank ones for you ahead of time. So turns are pretty basic. You take all your dice that you have, roll them, and you then decide how you're going to spend those dice. You can spend those dice attacking, defending. There's some immediate bonuses or actions you can do with them. You can power up, and then you can also have stuff that happens after the power up phase. So you and your opponent will decide all this behind the screen. Once you have set all your dice and how you're spending them, you reveal, and then you do the math. So for attacks, you have 4 basic attacks that you need to activate one of to be able to have access to the attack kickers and multipliers after that. The very basic one just requires any die on any face, and a fist plus any die gets you a 3 base attack. A fist plus an arm gets you a 4, and then 2 non-blank action dice that have the same face showing you can then use as a base attack of 6. After you choose your base attack, you can then add any kickers to it, which will add +2, +3, or +6, matching basically the recipe for them, which is basically just a fist or any die and an arm, a fist and arm, and then 2 dice with the same face on them. And then you have the other multipliers that you can add, which is +2 and ×2, or +4 and ×2. And those require a lot of fists and arms for that. And that's something that you will probably try and build up to by your selection of dice during the power-up phase. Defense is pretty much the same, except that's using shields and the quickness. And then for the top level defense, that one just requires a non-blank action die and then any die. So it's a little bit easier to defend than it is to attack. at max value. But also, defense gives you a few other things too. So if you do just the second level, or even the third level of defense, you get a non-wild face to add to your action dice of your choice. If you do the top level, you get to gain any face, which includes the wild ones. And then you also have the same thing with the kickers. The kickers also on defense give you non-wild faces, and the top one gives you any face. And the multipliers also let you gain a face or gain 2 faces, as well as giving you +4 and ×2 to your defense. On your turn, though, say that you might have, you don't like your dice. You can spend any die, and you can re-roll one of your other dice by spending it. And you can spend up to 2 dice here for 2 re-rolls. You can also, if you want to, you can spend a fist and a shield to gain 3 health. And you can't go above the base 20 there. Next, after you do attack and defend, and you then determine how much damage each of you takes or doesn't take, you can then do the power-up phase, where you can then grow by gaining a trait die. You can power on to gain an action die and a non-wild face. You can then, the next section in here is just all gaining faces for your action dice, which is gaining 1 non-wild, gaining 3, gain a copy of a face shown. So you basically put a non-blank die on there, you can gain whatever face you put on there. Or if you spend the power-up blue symbol, you gain 2 copies of the face shown. But powering up has its risks, which is the after power-up section. So you have Sucker Punch. If basically, if you go and spend a shield here, and your opponent powers up that turn, you deal 3 damage to them, or actually they lose 3 health. It's not damage, so it doesn't get blocked by defend. Or you can even spend a quickness. They lose 1 health per face that they gained during the power up. So you can really punish somebody. Well, actually, I guess Sucker Punch is per die, and the quickness one is per face. So that one, so if they don't gain a die, you do Sucker Punch, and they said all they did was gain faces, you don't do anything to them. And same thing with the, if you punish them for gaining faces, but they only gain dice, then they also get away too. Adapt, if your opponent has more dice than you, you gain an action or trait die of their choice. And you have to spend 2 dice for that though. Or you can exchange 2 of your faces with 2 faces that are in the general pool by spending the power-up icon there. And that one could be any face, so that includes wilds. That's a breakdown of what you spend your dice on. So a lot of it is kind of just like a give and take flow of the fight. Are you going to commit heavily to attacking this turn, or do you think that maybe you're going to bluff that you are, and let them spend up defending, and then you just power up instead. There's kind of there's a little bit of table talk and taunting each other. I mean, you are a hero and a villain in the middle of a fight, so there's a little bit of quips going on. But the gameplay is really simple, and you can just immediately get into it. I taught this to my nephew, and within a few minutes we're playing the first game of it and wound up playing 3 times in a row. So I think that gets his seal of approval for the game. He definitely really enjoyed on it. One of the things that's kind of the stickler that's kind of that he tripped up on is that of the base attacks and the base defenses, you only select one. You can't do a dodge and a block. you do a dodge or a block, and then you can buy as many of the modifiers as you can afford. The same goes for attack. After your first game, you might want to spice it up a little bit more, and that you can do by playing specific hero and villain characters, which have kind of their own extra abilities that are explained on each of the player boards here. Plus, they also have a single player mode on the back. But with these characters, you basically, instead of setting at 23 and one of each die, you get whatever is printed here. So in this case here, Coquette here, she starts with 23 health. Red die, yellow die, blue die, and then 2 action die with 1 wild face. And Tough Nut over there is fairly similar, except he starts with a yellow, green, and blue die, and then 2 action dice. Also, each character has kind of their own extra abilities. Can't go over all of them, but if you just kind of run down through them, like for Coquette here, you may reroll one of your dice that's not showing might. She's very aggressive. It's basically kind of what her whole kit is here. But each of them has different triggers. Like this round, after power up, during power up. Things like that. And yeah, they add a little bit of spice to it. I haven't had a chance to go and look at the rules or anything else for it yet, but they also have a 2v1 variant, and I really do want to go and take a look at that and see how that works. In fact, I might give that a try, and then we'll revisit the game then. So that's how you play the game. It is, like I said, a pretty easy teach. I taught it to my 13-year-old nephew, and he picked it up really quickly. He loved the game. We probably played it for one evening, when he came up here to visit for the holidays, and he really enjoyed it. I think we probably got about 3 or 4 games of it in, before we had to go and break for dinner. But yeah, it plays easily, 15-20 minutes. One of the games kind of did take a little bit longer, because we both kind of went heavy defense route at that point, until one of us finally just had enough built up where we were just almost one-shotting each other. So even in those situations, it's still, the game can end fairly quickly. Yeah, I love the action dice and the whole customization to it. Everything in the game looks pretty. All of the art pops. The symbology, really easy to, follow once you get a look at it. And I feel like the heroes add a lot of replayability, and it's very easy to expand. I know of that there's multiple expansion packs. I think I got the first one, and it adds, like a 2v1 encounter as well. I'll have to kind of look into the rules and how all that works, but that definitely sounds like a lot of fun. I would recommend this, especially if you like superheroes, and if you also are looking for a kind of another quick game, hey, our game ended, we're still waiting for those guys over there to finish up terraforming Mars, so let's go ahead and play a couple rounds of this. Anyway, Hope you all have a good time, and I'll see you guys at the table.